Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Kay Cote, and I am your podcast host on the show today. And today we have Nathan Hadley, Managing Director of Prospect Coaches, as our guest. So excited to talk to Nathan. We're going to be diving in, learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, and what it's really like to own and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop episodes like this. Welcome to the show, Nathan. It's so great to have you here.
Hi. Yeah, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Well, let's start it off with tell us a little bit about you and then talk a little bit about the business.
Um, I'm 47 years old, a managing director of what is the family business, so the third generation. I'm a family man, so I've got three boys, and the eldest is actually in the business as the fourth generation now as well, which is great to see him growing on his journey. I started my career in the military and then left the military and came into the family business. And big football fan, or soccer, I suppose, for you guys. But yeah, so that's me in a nutshell, really.
That's incredible. So it's a family business, you're third generation, you've got one son kind of stepping into a role. And tell me a little bit about the business itself.
So we're a coach hire company, so passenger transport. We've got 50 vehicles on the road currently, doing a mix of anything that a coach can do, really, whether that be home to school kind of transport, transporting football teams, football supporters, college students. We do express work, so intercity, a bit, so between major cities of Birmingham and London. We do that on rotation throughout the day. And we've been going since 1956 with a taxi and 1964 with our first coach. So been around a few years now.
That's incredible. Now, do you serve, would you say, local area or what's your reach for your services?
Uh, our core customers would always be, in the local community, really, and in the local area. Purely simply because with drivers' hours, rules and regulations, the cost of fuel and taking a large vehicle any long distance to start the duty, it's hard to compete in with people if you've got lots of dead mileage, so to speak. So our core business is our local community and workforces, schools and colleges. Saying that, we do work further afield on major events. So we've worked on the big sporting events in the UK from 2012 through to sort of 2 years ago with the Commonwealth, etc. And we do also go into Europe as well. And depending on that with different customers, we can pick up further afield on certain contracts.
Okay, well, that's really good to know too. And looking at your team now, how many team members do you have, and what kind of roles are you do you have in your company?
So we've got everything from sort of myself as managing director. We've then got a management structure which consists of a general manager, operations manager, and a compliance and transport manager. And then that breaks down to a next level of teams. We've also got an office manager as well who looks after the booking side of things. An engineering manager who looks after the workshop because we do our own repair and maintenance of vehicles on site as well. And then we've got supervisors, drivers, engineers. We've got administrative staff who deal with the customers from a booking point of view. So quite a diverse workforce, really. And obviously, we transport the passengers. We've got a team of our biggest part of the workforce is the driving staff.
Yeah, and how many team members do you currently have, or are you like, yeah, what do you?
We're going through a period of growth at the moment. I think we're currently sitting at around about 68 members of staff.
Nice. And are you looking to grow more drivers, expand your reach? What are some of your goals here in the next year?
Um, I can't say too much because some of it is on an NDA at the moment. But we are currently going through quite a large expansion plan. So we're opening a second depot. So that would be another facility, sort of mirroring what we have here, which will and we will end up with 40 vehicles at each depot. So we were sort of adding an extra 30 vehicles into the fleet. With that will come probably, depending on the contract level, another 50 members of staff, if not slightly more. So we're practically doubling everything that we do with that. And that's programmed over the next 3 years, that level of growth.
Okay. Well, that's incredible to hear too. So what is your why? What motivates you in the company and, being a family owned business, being like third generation, but like, what's your why to your core?
I'll go back to an old British Army recruiting slogan. That was "Army be the best," and that's what happened when I joined the military. That was the adverts that was attracting people to join the military at the time, was be the best. And I've sort of tried to live my life by that motto ever since. With it, and I constantly strive to take the business to the next level, whether that be growing and becoming bigger and better, or just on service levels that we give to our customers, whether it be the facilities and the conditions our drivers and all our staff members work in. We're constantly striving to become better and more efficient, and just raise those quality standards, and that's what we sort of live by as a family business, and those values. But even though we're getting bigger, it's trying to hold true to those family values as well, and everybody being part of that team and that sort of family makeup.
That's really important. I love that you shared that, especially about keeping those values true. And, as you're expanding, as you're seeing your team grow, what are some of the ways you're making sure that everybody is on the same page with the values of the business?
So we introduced a bonus scheme at the start of this year, and part of that is it is for people doing their job and doing their job well, they end up with a bonus at Christmas, and it's across the board, and it's not one that you've got to necessarily go over and above to get that bonus. It's not a share of profits. It was something we set out for every member of staff at the start of the year, and actually, by doing your job and doing it well and looking after your job, then you get that. It's yours to lose, shall we say. So if there's an instance where somebody hasn't done their job and we've ended up maybe having to give a refund to a customer, or there's been an incident that's cost the business money, then some of that will come out of that bonus scheme. But it's a nice incentive for them to have from the start. We're constantly improving the fleet, so we're buying new vehicles to make sure the conditions are right. We've gone through a refurb within the buildings. We try to be market leaders in the paying allowances that our staff are getting. And it's just, we're leading by example and just trying to maintain those family values, and what the company's always stood by is what we were trying to do. It is a balancing act, I think everything in business is, and there has to be some kind of compromise, etc. But yeah, it's just trying to treat people like human beings and how we would like to be treated ourselves. I think it's the best way of doing it.
Oh, definitely. Well, thank you for sharing that. Looking back on your years as the managing director of the company, what is something, maybe a challenge that you faced and that you had to overcome?
I think family businesses have their own challenges, let alone just the business world, that we operate in. So as each generation comes through, well, so my grandfather started it, and his views and the culture that he grew up in is completely different to the culture and the communities that we now operate in. Whether that be from a legislative point of view, the rules have changed over the years, and when post-war, when my grandfather was starting the business and building it, things like the driver's hours rules and regulations that are around today, they weren't there. So as I came into the business 17 years ago now, I had to educate some of the older generations of the business to the modern way, really. And yeah, that was challenging. We've had a few interesting debates, should we say, over the years. And that's when I came to business. I had my grandfather and my mother both in the business at the time, so I had two generations to battle with, yeah, which was good. And I'm sure if my son was sat in the room now, Jake would be telling you exactly the same, that he has his challenges with me as well, no doubt. But you know, that's the way it is. During that time, I've gone through lots of different roles within the business, and realistically, as a director and starting to lead the business properly, I had to deal with COVID and the what that did to our industry and what that did to most of the business in the UK at the time. You know, when it ground to a whole, and realistically, we are part of that leisure industry. So when everybody had to stay at home, there was no reason for the wheels on our vehicles to be turning and taking people out. So it was a real challenge to ourselves. And in some ways, it helped us to become stronger. We really dug deep into the business and what our costs were, what worked for us, what didn't work for us. Did we need to become more diverse? And that's the biggest thing we took from that period, in fairness, was we became a far more diverse business coming out of the pandemic, you know, and to where we are today. And as the oldest generations have stepped out of the business, I've led that change and that diversification, really. So they've been big challenges for myself. And then actually, not only do we have the financial restraints of the pandemic and the return to business, but we also had the mental health of staff coming back into the workplace following the pandemic, and looking at different things. And some people came back to work desperate to get out there, get out of their house, and just push forwards and do lots of great things. And other people were quite anxious and they were quite scared of coming back into the workplace. And so it was really exciting, but quite worrying times as well, you know, how we approach that journey back. And then and I've led a diversification of the business and some different ideas and some areas that we'd never done in the history of the company beforehand, and we're now doing quite a lot of a different kind of work, really. And yeah, and we just had to work smarter and harder, is how we sort of put it, and we became a lot busier and a lot more diverse than we ever were before the pandemic.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing that. You know, that's just like, it's incredible to see what you've gone through and what you're going into, and seeing the growth that you found through that with yourself and your staff. Are you currently a hybrid? Like they call it like the hybrid, for like staff can be in office and then work from home sometimes, or are you fully on site 40 hours a week or full time for staff?
Yes. Realistically, probably 98% of our staff have to come to work.
Mhm.
It might be easier when we start getting remote controlled coaches that we can send out onto the roads without a driver in there. But realistically, you know, we're a customer facing business, so we can't work digitally. Realistically, management can. You know, if a manager's not feeling very well or need to work from home for a period, then yes, we can do that a day a week or even longer. But the engineers who are fixing, you know, the diesel vehicles, they need to be on site to fix the vehicles. The drivers who are taking the vehicles out driving, the cleaning them. We're predominantly a hands-on, everybody's into the office or going out in the vehicles type of business, realistically. And I think that was one of the biggest challenges that we also faced from the pandemic. Lots of people continue to work from home, and we couldn't take the vehicles home and then take people out on them. So
That makes sense. Totally. Well, this has been a great conversation. It's been incredible to learn about your growth in the business and how you've been transforming the business. And now I'd like to dive into a fun part of the conversation called our rapid fire questions, where I ask you 4 questions that you answer very top of mind. Are you ready for some rapid fire?
I'll do my best.
All right. Question number 1. What is a key to success for you?
For me, it's just hard work and making sure that you're fully focused. You've got that plan and you see it through and put that hard work in, the miles in, so to speak.
Definitely love that. And number 2, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
And know your costs and make sure you've got control of them. So when you're making a decision, you're fully informed.
Definitely. And number 3 is, what is either a piece of content, it could be a book, a podcast, something that you've taken in most recently?
Quite a lot of different things really, but I suppose I tend to be outside of the business world when I'm relaxing and trying to switch off. So I watch quite a few football podcasts, in all honesty. So yeah,
I love that. You got to decompress somewhere, right?
yeah.
And the final question, if you could wave a magic wand and rapidly improve overnight one aspect of your business, what would it be?
And now that's that. I wish I could have a magic wand. I think it's oh I think I don't know. There's a few aspects. Yeah. One thing we're looking at the moment is improving quality. Even though we believe we're one of the best, as I said before, we live by that be the best sort of strategy. We're always trying to be that little bit better. And so I think if I could just wave a magic wand and have everybody's work ethic and standard to be the same, it would be easier to manage.
Well, thank you for sharing that, for those rapid fire questions. Before we get to our final question today, how can people find you and get connected with you?
So our website is prospectcoaches.co.uk. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. You know, we're there, and we've got a team who answer the phones or via email. So yeah, that's us.
Well, wonderful. Well, this again has been such a great conversation. So, Nathan, our final question for today, what is most inspiring to you today?
Um, I don't as in the thing that's inspired me the most today, or just what I find most inspiring.
What's most inspiring to you?
Um, it's you see the success of the staff, and then when you see an idea that comes in and people taking ownership of that and then seeing it through, I like to see the good in other people and their success, not just of our own. So yeah, seeing somebody grow.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Well, this has been such an inspiring conversation. So, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.